Please welcome Brian Felsen.
So, yeah, I run Book Baby. Book Baby is, we take your book and we do all the conversions. We take any format, document, text, HTML, EPUB, Quark, InDesign, PDF, you name it. We convert it to what all the major retail stores need. We do it by hand, we distribute it to them. We then do all your accounting for you, pay you every week, you get 100% of your profits. We do it for $99 and then it's $19 a year after the first year, and that's it. We offer other services like cover design, which is also $99, but basically it's meant so that we can give independent authors and publishers a way to get distributed in all the major retail stores and get to keep all the money that they earn. So what I'm going to talk about today is more geared for authors than for publishers in the industry, but it's 4 naughty little secrets of book publishing. And it might not be secrets to all of you here, but it's secrets to a lot of people, and I know because when I've gone to a lot of conferences to talk, I've talked to a lot of authors and publishers and people who are really far along in their career who are surprised by a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to go through them and see if you know them or don't. The first is basically that nobody really cares if you write, because firstly, if you don't write your masterpiece, nobody's going to know about it. But secondly, they're not lacking for content. The world is not lacking for content. I have so much music on my hard drives or now on Pandora or Spotify, and so many books in my virtual library on my devices that were I to start today and go longer than the longest human that's ever lived, I would never get through all of it. And the world doesn't need mine and it doesn't need yours, because attention is scarce and content is commoditized. So publishers, at a lot of conferences, they'll say, what should we price our ebook at? Should we price it like a paperback? Should it be cheaper than a paperback? Should it be $2.99? Should it be $4.99? And what should it be? And the thing is that on these apps, on perhaps a forthcoming tablet that Amazon's making, certainly on the iPad, you're not just competing with paperback books. You're competing with millions of paperback books, but you're also competing with Angry Birds, which is 99 cents and is going to provide you more hours of entertainment than reading Ulysses. Or you're competing with a $4 movie or unlimited all-you-can-eat Netflix models. Reading becomes just another app as these tablets get more and more sophisticated. Now the publishers that I talk to, like Carrie Goldstein, would say, no, the problem isn't creation. The problem is that there's not enough good content. If there's good content, people will gravitate toward it, which is true until the next video comes along of a guy hitting somebody else over the head with a keyboard, or until you got to check your email. So the content creator is no longer particularly privileged in society, which is a shame because how many David Foster Wallaces are there or will there be in the future? But on Twitter or on Facebook, it is valued right now in this little window in which I'm speaking. I talked to Brooke Gladstone of NPR, and she's saying, during the Arab Spring, people wouldn't just turn to TV journalists, but by using hashtags and Twitter, within a circle, there was degrees of trust in the community, and if you had the valuable content, you got trusted. So the question is how do you rise above the noise? What's your unique selling proposition, as they say in business? What's your USP? So there are many USPs you could have. One is to be an outlier, to be completely amazing, or to be completely weird, to totally just stand out. Another is to have clear and compelling ideas, to actually speak clearly, which is rare in this 140-character day and age. Cover design actually matters in terms of helping you stand out. I was surprised. I talked to a romance writer who said that suddenly they were ordering 25,000 copies of a book instead of the usual 15 or 10 just because booksellers ordered more because it had a really cool cover. So they say you can't judge a book by its cover, but people do, especially in these online retail stores where there's so much content. And the other is to have a predictable and prolific brand. And you think about all the arts, Philip Glass, Andy Warhol, people that repeat themselves, people that repeat themselves, people that repeat themselves. I was talking to Angela James of Carina Press, which is Harlequin's digital arm, and if you can satisfy audience expectations, then they will be interested in your product before you've even made it. There will be an eager market waiting for you. And another way is to just corner an underserved niche. They were talking about Amanda Hocking today, how, well, nobody had written a book about trolls. Or I was talking to Clive Cussler, who said, wow, he wanted to write detective books, but there were 100 million of them, so he wrote underwater books and became the king of that and raised the Titanic and all that. So what's your niche as an author or as a small press? Where's your home? Where's your church, your temple, your community? And how do you find them? I mean, there's organizations for them. If you write about parachutes or Jewish Chinese cooks or whatever it is, there are organizations for it to reach out to. There's magazines, there's events and conferences to go to, blogs, forums, and websites. And you can do Twitter searches for them with hashtags and the like, and Google alerts, and as well as Amazon book reviews. If you're an author and you want to find the community, look at other authors and you can comment on them and engage with other commenters and also with the author themselves. The second dirty little secret is that the muses are a lousy buck. I think it was Raymond Chandler that said that, but I can't get Google to verify it, so therefore I'm wrong. But if I could crowdsource it, somebody could let me know after who actually said that, because it wasn't me, but it's kind of cool. It sounds like an old school, old gumshoe type of thing. Muses are a lousy buck. But there's a lot of writers out there. You know, S.J. Roseanne, who's one of my parents' favorite mystery writers, and she sold hundreds of thousands of books, and she's getting by living in a rent-controlled apartment in New York. Or, and Clive Cussler says, you know, you've got to write for an audience. You're writing for the money if you're going to do it to sustain yourself long term, and if it's not a hobby. Unless, of course, you have patrons, which is what Joyce had, and which is what a lot of the old writers had. They're kings, queens, emperors, but they're today sugar mommies and sugar daddies, because without governments there's not going to be grants. There's also another patron called a day job, and there's no shame in that either. So, the muses are a lousy buck. Let's take a look at just a little bit of the math. Is that New York agent Brian DeFiore was saying that the agency model as it now exists is not what a normal Homo sapien would call fair. Meaning that when you're making an ebook, there are a lot of costs if you're a publisher that may not be visible to the public. It's not free to make an ebook. I mean, aside from paying in advance and all that, you gotta protect privacy. You gotta build up the digital infrastructure. But there's a heck of a lot of savings. They're not having to pay people for production. They're not having to rent huge warehouses or pay people in the warehouse. So hardcover used to charge a lot of money for those things, you know, 25 bucks a hardcover, and an ebook for a major publisher might be $13. As an independent publisher, it might be $2.99. It's not going to be $13. As a matter of fact, a lot of our partners are specifically requesting, and some even demanding, that we deliver within a price band of between 99 cents or $2.99 and $9.99, because that's what's working for them. So the price goes down, yet the large publishers are still making the same amount of money, whereas the authors are the ones that are getting hit. Their share has dropped about a third. So if you look at what the take is, if there's a $13 ebook, then Amazon or the iBook store, they're going to take their 30% nut, and that's going to leave $9.10 net. Now, somebody like BookBaby, there's nobody like BookBaby. BookBaby, if we pay on 100% of the profits, you're going to get the $9.10. Now, they're going to add value with promotion and everything, but they're going to keep 75% of it. So you're going to end up with $2.27.50 per book. Now, you can make money in this as an independent author, and people hold up Amanda Hocking as the great exemplar of this. selling 900,000 copies at $2.99 and keeping 70% of it, that's a lot of beans. And Barry Keating as well has gone that route. But there's a catch to all this. Firstly, these are outliers. And the definition of an outlier is that you're probably not one. It's hard to fathom this. I'm a middle-aged guy, and I'll be dead in 40 years or so, according to Metropolitan height and weight charts. I'm not quite on the height chart, but the weight chart I'm on. And I still haven't come to grips with the idea that I'm not an outlier. I mean, they say if it hasn't happened in the first reel, it probably won't happen in the second, third, or fourth. And I'm betting on myself. I have to bet on myself, right? Because I live in my body, except when I do transcendental meditation. But you're probably not an outlier, and the odds of you being Amanda Hocking are slim. You want to shoot for it, but you can't bank on it. And the other punchline is that Amanda Hocking doesn't want to be Amanda Hocking anymore. She was spending so much time having to market herself and treat herself as a corporation that she no longer got to do one of the things on earth she most liked to do, which is to write stories about trolls. So, how to make a living? Given that the math is not always so fortuitous for the independent content creator. Firstly, keep your hands in your pockets. Carrie Goldstein was saying there's more hope than talent in the industry, and that's true. And there are a lot of exploitative companies out there that will charge thousands of dollars for so-called distribution in independent stores, and they can print thousands of copies of print on demand, and then they'll just prop up your coffee table or sit in your garage, and the distribution won't pan out. And I know companies will charge thousands to send out press releases, so be careful of that. The second thing is to just try and sell whatever you can, and it was touched on today. Sell an instant edition, sell a permanent edition, sell a deluxe edition. Also sell merch, sell anything, sell blood. And also that there's no shame in making money from other sources. David Allen, who is a rock star that was here but went home because he's a rock star, he was in the band Gang of Four, if you guys don't know, but he had asked a question referred to as being in the music business, but he had told me that society doesn't owe you a living making art. And that's another weird concept that as a middle-aged guy I haven't quite come to grips with, is that making art has got its advantages, but there are strawberry pickers, migrant workers in the hot sun and in the coal mines that are actually producing something tangible that society can use now, that are barely making enough to send home their families. And the content creator, yeah, there's anxiety and writer's block and insomnia and infidelity and all the great stuff that comes with our trade, but you're not owed a house, a swimming pool, and fill in the blank to do that. So there are advantages, even if you're poor in being a content creator. There is that bravery and exhilaration of creating characters out of nothing and talking with the muses and asking them why it's a lousy buck and all that other great stuff that people who have health insurance don't have. But you're not owed a fortune for doing it. And finally, I guess I would say, in terms of the numbers of this game, is get your backlist, if you have a backlist, and publish your own ebooks. Writer Jennifer Ashley was telling me that there are a lot of tricks publishers will use when wanting to keep your digital publishing rights and fight them tooth and nail to get it. There's one publisher that I won't name that actually the rights revert back to them after 7 years of being out of print, and when it's about to hit the 7th year, they'll release 5 copies in Serbia, so that way it will renew another 7 years. And there's also a hybrid model that authors are turning to now. The special ops writer, Bob Mayer, sold 347 books on Kindle in January for the entire month of January, and got up to 2,100 a day in March just by re-releasing his old stuff himself on Kindle. And there are some writers, big ones like James Rollins, who may have signed away all the rights to his books to his publisher, but he'll write a short story and self-publish that. The third naughty little secret of publishing is that the promotion is on you. It's your responsibility to cut through the noise. And that's true no matter where you are or what you want to do. If you're looking for representation, agents and publishers want that you're already famous and already have your platform, that you already have fans before you even come to them. Brian DeFiore was saying, the agent's job is to tell a publisher that you don't need them. And that's true with you as an author for both agents and publishers. And another thing is that publishers, even if you get a publishing deal, their main focus is getting booksellers to buy you on the channels of distribution. I was talking to this writer, Kat Johnson, who writes books on rodeo drivers and cowboys and romances and everything. And she said that the author still has to do, no matter how many books you sell, they still have to do the fan marketing. The author is still responsible in almost all cases for website content generation, blog outreach, attending conventions, making and distributing promotional materials, Facebook contests, and tweeting. And obviously, if you forego representation, it's on you as well. So how then to work the social networks given a limited time and budget? Well, the first thing is to start with your website. Your website's got to be the hub for everything. To push, and the website can push to the social networks, Twitter and Facebook, and it can also pull in from them. And then to blog. Blogs are not passe. You may not have to write long tomes or long, huge blog entries, but content will draw people in from searches, and it will engage the fans that you have, and as well as guest blogging on other people's sites. And to set up Google alerts where you can get email alerts for people searching your name so you can directly engage with them, but also to add in your own website, because some people might link to you or refer to you without mentioning your name. And we have a website creator called HostBaby for Authors, which will instantly give you a fully customized website, and we're developing a tool so that you can sell direct to reader, and that's something recommended as well. And finally, capture email information, to capture their information so that way you can continue to engage your fans. Dan Savage was saying that there's no, the model of a reclusive author like J.D. Salinger is almost infantilizing to the author and serves the old school channels of distribution. And he loves engaging his readers in the columns, which are syndicated in 70 different outlets to 2 million readers. He loves engaging them because they help tell him what content is good. They give him feedback so that way he knows how to improve. And they send pictures of their butts, and he loves that. Also, exclusive content is a good way of engaging your fans. Content they can't get anywhere else but from you and from your website. If you have a novel, you can serialize it. And another thing is to open the creative process up, to ask questions, solicit feedback from your fans, and you can even easily shoot video and edit it in iMovie for next to nothing, or just stream it on your website or on any streaming service of yourself, the writing process, and what you're going through. And you can even do readings online as well. And finally, direct-to-reader sales is a good way to engage your fans. But people forget about email. Email is thought of as old school, but what we find from ListBaby and from our email services is that an email newsletter gets much better response in the social networks. Twitter seems to be doing the worst, and Facebook is good, but email for conversion is king. And a newsletter is very helpful, and the main thing is to when you send out information, ask them to forward it and to engage them. You're not just spamming, you're not just blasting information, but it's a two-way street. So best practices for social networking for the content creator or the small publisher. One is to just study the leaders in whatever niche you're in, because there's a book marketer, Penny Sansevieri, says, success leaves clues. So see what other people are doing, and then network with your heroes. I've gotten to meet some of my favorite authors by commenting on their websites, on book blogger sites, even once from just writing a comment on their Amazon page. So by doing so, you're engaging and capturing their fans, but you're also getting to meet your favorite intellectual heroes as well. And it's really about communication and participating to get that community trust and referral that Brooke Gladstone was talking about. The fourth dirty little secret of publishing is that time is your most precious commodity. And that just like for readers, where content is commoditized and attention is scarce, for writers, for publishers, for anybody, it's the same thing. And there are many things that eat into your time: day job, parenthood, reading Ulysses, YouTube cat videos. But it's like playing chess. There are two ways to lose in chess. One is to make a stupid move, but the other is to watch the clock fall. So the main thing is to focus. Some things are worth doing yourself and some aren't. Writing is worth doing yourself. Promoting is worth doing yourself because you can outsource it to a point, but people are paying for access, and they're paying for an authentic voice. If you look at master's programs in writing, that type of information they can get anywhere on the web. And to become a better writer, you have to write your first 1 million bad words anyway. What they're paying $30,000 is to have air between them and their heroes, and no people in between, just air. And that engagement can only come from you. But technology is not worthy of your time. A lot of us here are technologists, myself included. I try to avoid it whenever possible. I try and do ideation for Book Baby, and I learn as much as I can about technology to stay current in the business and develop the best products possible. But I can't code, and I don't want to code. It might be more lucrative to code, but I want to think. And if you have unlimited lives that will be reincarnated like Shirley MacLaine, then you've got all the time in the world to sweat the technology. But if not, this is one game where you don't need to, because there are services that will do it for cheap. So, firstly, the technology may not always be ready for prime time. EPUB 3 is here. Kind of, sort of here, but here. I mean, kind of, sort of, kind of here, but kind of, sort of, kind of here. It's got a lot of great features that are kind of, sort of implemented in products that are kind of, sort of here. HTML5, SVG, vector, lightweight vector graphics, navigation, CSS. There's a list there, I'm not going to read it, but lots of bells and whistles and chrome-plated wheels, and they're great, and it's going to be beautiful. But right now, what do we got? We got a couple tablets, the color in the iPad, that can handle a lot of it. But you do multimedia, it's not going to play on the other devices, and it's going to require a separate delivery and a separate ISBN number. Fixed layout is going to be hard on an iPhone, because they're going to have to constantly zoom out and zoom in to deal with it. Embedded fonts, well, somebody here said today, don't do them. Well, you can kind of, sort of do them, only certain ones, otherwise it'll go to default, or some of them the device will be mad at you, and Steve Jobs will call you at 10 o'clock on a Sunday. And scanned images, they're not going to look great on all platforms. And we talked today about some of the limitations of doing it, especially early in your sample chapters of the Kindle. But if the technology is not quite ready, so what? Make and distribute your art anyway, because otherwise you're not going to be prolific. You're going to be waiting, or you're going to be walking on technology. And speaking of technology, don't sweat the DRM. There are two camps of DRM. People that are wrong and people that are against it. I'm in the latter camp. But that's just my subjective point of view. Carina Press was saying from Harlequin, what they experienced is that they looked at their shopping carts, and then when they offered up a DRM, they got a 75% abandonment rate. It was confusing customers. It was hurting the impulse buy. And because casual sharing, I was talking to Kobo, and casual sharing is how people discover authors in the first place, reading and sharing and discoverability, and Kobo's big push is not multimedia, it's social. And what Cory Doctorow said is that whenever somebody puts locks on any device, on anything you own, it's never for your benefit. They may tell you it's your, there's a new iPhone update that just got pushed to me yesterday saying it stops malicious PDFs. But no, its sole purpose is to stop jailbreaking. which is fine for them, but it doesn't do anything for me. It's not an offering, and it's not a real, genuine benefit. Your biggest worry in most cases is not piracy, it's obscurity. And finally, don't sweat conversion technology, and don't let that stop you from releasing content now. If you do the conversion yourself, you could learn it, but it probably won't help you. It's almost like changing the oil in your car. You could do it yourself, it may satisfy you, but for 39 bucks, somebody else could do it for you, and you could go watch videos on YouTube or something really creative. And then there's a lot of problems doing it yourself anyway. A lot of people that supply us with EPUBs, the vast majority, I hate to say, fail EPUB check, fail on manifest file check, get kicked back to us from the publishers. It would have just been easier if they just sent us a doc in the first place. Literally, what we'll do is we do it for free. And if you got a PDF, it'll be 39 bucks, and we'll do 10 images for free, and it'll be $1 after that, and it's just not worth the hassle. So those are the 4 naughty little secrets of publishing that a lot of people, famous people I talked to, didn't know. So the moral of the story is that in 3 to 5 billion years, the Milky Way galaxy is probably going to collide with Andromeda. And this keeps me up at night. And if that doesn't happen, and there is some probability it might not happen, in 1.4 billion years, the gravity warming of the sun is going to evaporate all the water and end terrestrial life. So we have to solve this, guys. So we have to solve either getting off the planet, or not killing each other, or not making our species extinct, like every other species since the history of man has become extinct. And if the Earth has been here 4.5 billion years, we've only become conscious to be able to have conferences and sit in groups like this around the fire and talk about important, fascinating stuff like ebooks for only a couple hundred centuries. So don't wait. As a content creator or as a publisher, don't wait. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You already have, there's no man behind the curtain, you already have the heart and the courage and the brain. So for your heart, just be weird and amazing. The gatekeepers are falling. It's like the music business. A lot of them are going under, and they don't know how to promote any better than anyone else. So find your niche and say what you gotta say. And if you're not gonna get the brass ring of becoming a multi-cajillionaire, if you can feed yourselves and your families, fulfill yourselves as human beings and make something amazing. And because there's courage in the fact that they've fallen away, because now it's on you. Now you're the fathers and mothers. You're the ones who are going to say, you're the ones that are going to add to the conversation. And to do that, you need the brain part of the Wizard of Oz. Hone your talent and speak clearly, so that way you'll add to the conversation instead of just being another pop star. That's pretty much it. A lot of these authors that I spoke to, we've filmed and we're releasing on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/bookbaby, you'll be able to see a lot of them. And we've got a blog at blog.bookbaby.com, and I encourage you all to check it out, follow the conversation, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.